Well, good afternoon. So, alpha widows, and they're not really in the relationship that they're in, whether it's with you or their current relationship. So, what is an alpha widow? I've explained it in previous videos, but an alpha widow is somebody who had a peak experience with an alpha male, okay? A female, of course, had a peak experience with an alpha male in her past. And after that breaks up, or that experience doesn't continue, they're now effectively an alpha widow. Because of hypergamy, which is the biological drive for females to continually want to level up, all right? So females can't go backwards. Once they experience something along a number of categories for how they mate select, they're unable to be satisfied in a future relationship that is less than that experience, okay? And no, guys do not experience this, all right? This is not a thing that males run into. Not that males aren't trying to level up their situation, but males will often get into relationships that where with a woman that is maybe arguably a lower sexual market value than someone in their past, and they can be perfectly content and happy. It's the females, though, that cannot be. And this is, again, that comes down to this biological drive. This biological driver to have the best genetic possibility for mating and producing children. So once they experience something, they just can't go backwards. So when they experience a dominant male that dominates them both emotionally and sexually and mentally, they can't go backwards from that. Oftentimes, though, what happens most of the time is females do not marry. They don't get in long-term relationships with their best. Okay, the person they choose to be in a long-term relationship with is not the best person that they've been with. It's not their apex alpha. Okay, they're usually settling with a safe beta male that's a good provider, and where there's a lot less excitement and more stability. That stability they feel at a certain point in their life is what they need to, have a family and have long-term happiness. But unfortunately, because they can't go backwards, they're not happy in that relationship long-term. Once the dopamine and oxytocin wears off from the honeymoon phase, they're left stuck with a guy that they're not that excited about. They love him, but they're not in love with him. Heard that a million times. There's a reason why 75% of divorces are initiated by the female, okay? They're just not excited about their guy. So it is common practice for women to settle with somebody who has not been their sexual best and not been their emotional best. A lot of reasons for that. Alpha guys are hard to control, okay? Alpha guys oftentimes are not quite as, offering so much beta stability in a relationship, which can be very exciting, but it's hard to maintain that. A female who's, sometimes it's the guy's fault. It's just he's just not the type to be able to settle down. Sometimes it's the female's fault, where she has trauma or baggage or hang-ups and she can't let that alpha guy take charge, be in control. It puts her in a state of anxiety and she ends up destroying that relationship. For whatever the reason is, though, that peak experience, once that peak experience is over, she'll pine for that experience the rest of her life until another better peak experience comes along. But because the sexual market value in a female declines over time, her chances of having that peak experience each year that she ages is less and less. So truly, females have it harder than guys do when it comes to, especially when they break up and things like that. I think I gauge that long term anyways, females have a more difficult time because of hypergamy. They have a more difficult time just being happy, all right? So that's kind of why I coach too, and I do coach females because I'm trying to help men and women, but when it comes to women, I'm helping women figure out how to just be happy, because it's actually a lot harder than it sounds, okay? But let's talk again about the alpha widow and why she's not present in any of her future relationships. Every relationship she gets into, the guy that she is with is the guy that she is in a relationship with. She's not in a relationship with that guy. She's in a relationship with someone who is not her ex, okay? This person is not my ex. This person is not my alpha ex. And she won't think of it in terms of alpha ex, but this person is not her ex. That's how she sees him. If his name is Steve, for example, she's not with Steve. She's with a guy that's not her ex. So this person, she doesn't see Steve for who he really is. What she sees there is this person that is a point of comparison to this ex all the time, to this peak experience she had, to this peak alpha male. That's who her current boyfriend or husband relationship becomes, okay? And she may not even do it consciously. She may do it unconsciously. But she'll do it sexually. She'll do it from emotional standpoint of emotional draw. And at first, she'll be rationalizing. She'll try to rationalize every stupid little detail as to why, Beta Steve is somehow better and a better fit than Chad, the alpha that was her ex that she pines for, right? So Beta Steve, he has a better body, I'm pretty sure, than, he's kind of a dad bod, but he's a little bit taller, I think, and his hands maybe a little bit bigger, and I like big hands, or whatever, I think he might be this. Oh, he seems to be more like this. He seems to be, and Chad wasn't like that, Everything is a point of comparison in her mind, and it doesn't matter if it's 10 years later, that's what ends up happening, okay? And at the end of the day, she ends up being emotionally distant from Steve, because when she was emotionally open with Chad and sexually open with Chad, she got hurt eventually. All right, that's what happened. Whether she hurt herself or whether Chad hurt her, her apex alpha basically hurt her and damaged her. She got hurt from that ending of that relationship. So when she meets with Beta Steve, she holds a bunch of things back. She holds back sexually. She holds back emotionally. She won't tell Beta Steve a lot of the things that she told Alpha Chad, okay? And so that's what ends up happening. She ends up, but Steve's a good guy. He's a good provider. He's a good dad. He opens doors for her, this and that, and she'll just compare notes and everything as to why Steve, I think, and she'll rationalize why Steve is better than Chad. Steve's just better for me than Chad. But here's the problem. You can't negotiate attraction, you can't negotiate arousal, and you can't logic and reason your way into being attracted to somebody. And so when she was madly crazy attracted, in a scary way, to Chad, her mad crazy attraction for her apex alpha, okay, that was scary, and it led to pain for her, and it led to turmoil and anxiety and some different things. But that is ultimately what her hypergamous mind wants. So she settles with Steve, and she's not that happy with Steve. Get it? If Steve's the beta guy, or Steve's the nice guy, the average guy, or maybe Steve's a good guy. Maybe Steve's the dominant alpha guy, but he's just not quite what Chad was. You see what I mean? And so that's why, that is why what we call it, it's been called and termed alpha widow. I don't know if it's Rollo Tomasi that termed that one or where it came from, but I think it's in his Rational Male books, but that's where that term kind of comes from, is that it's an alpha widow. She's, in other words, it's like the death of that relationship. She's forever pining for another Chad, okay, someone who's better, and when she doesn't find that, she settles with the other guy. She's just not that happy. So, guys, you have to be aware of this. If you are Beta Steve, okay, if you're not Chad, don't do her a favor and yourself a favor, and don't put a ring on that one, okay? Don't put yourself in a position, don't think you're gonna nice guy and negotiate your way into her heart, okay? And take her into old age with your wonderful marriage if she is not crazy attracted and aroused by you, all right? Now, there are a number of tells that you want to look for to see if you're actually her apex alpha, or if it was somebody in her past relationships. There are a number of things, and that's why I recommend that both parties do talk about the relationship history. I know that advice is controversial, but it's not, to spark any kind of jealousy. It's not to be used against them in the future. It's just to understand the other person, and that needs to be done. But the biggest tell, though, is their level of arousal and attraction to you. If they cannot, and when I'm talking sexual, all right, if they cannot wait to be with you and it's never enough, and it's that way from the get-go, you may possibly be her alpha option, all right? If she's making you negotiate and wait and barter for sex right from the beginning, that's transactional sex, and that's sex in exchange for relationship and all these other things. Well, that's not arousal. That's not raw attraction. That's sex that's being used now as an exchange for other things. So if you're the person that she is madly attracted to and aroused by and cannot, just has to be with you, even against her best judgment, she'll break her own rules. Quite possibly you might be her alpha male, okay? And that relationship has at least hope then for success. If, however, you find that you're negotiating and waiting and it seems like her excitement just isn't all that there, particularly in the beginning, you are probably not. She may, in fact, be an alpha widow, in which case she'll still be with you, she'll still have sex with you, she'll still have fun with you, but she'll never be that excited about you. And if you get in a long-term relationship and if you put your commitment towards that, the chances for failure are almost certain, okay, in the end. So, because again, she won't be in that relationship with you. You're not you, you're just not him. You see what I mean? So, thanks for tuning in. Have a great afternoon.